Well, during the, here we are in the Republic of Rome, of course, during the Forum phase, first of all, the barbarian raids occurred that I mentioned last time. And there were some effects. The most shocking was the die roll of 2 on Cisalpine Gaul, which degraded that. But I don't think anything too exciting happened outside of that. Somebody may have died and gone in here. During the Forum phase, one player fired off a blackmail card, which allows, there are a few of these, they allow an unopposed attempt to persuade. In this case, they were able to grab Valerius, who had a pile of money on him, from over here. And I wish these factions said which they were. I think these might be the popular. Nah, I don't know who's who. Anyway, one of the weaker factions lost a family to one of the other weaker factions. Obviously, one could have attacked one of the 2 stronger factions. Junius might have been a good option, but he's getting old. Valerius was young, had a lot of money, seemed like a target of opportunity. There was enough cash available on this guy's, on the Pontifex Maximus, that he was able to throw, yeah, that's kind of risky actually, that he was able to throw enough money in there to get a 10 or less, and now there's even more money on Valerius, but no one had a chance to take that. The excitement that showed up, there's a Sicilian slave revolt, which if that's not handled, it's going to cause a grain shortage. It also eliminates the Sicilian grain concession. And they can team up and add together. We also have both the Spanish revolts and a leader forum, Viriathus, showing up. And these are a problem. Well, only that they'd attack the province if they're left alone. Both wars should be handleable, although the leader makes this much more dangerous. And I have to check to see if Hamilcar croaks. He does not. And if we get a concession back and we don't. Then we have to do the popularity phase. A couple people threw games, I think. We got it down to a 2, and the Rome Council's a 1. So he's at a -1 for the die roll. Which isn't too bad. 9, 12 brings it to 11, no change. Success in the wars will clear that up, of course. All right, well, now it's Senate time, and there isn't anything major pressing against Rome right now. The manpower shortage probably means we're not going to build new troops. Couple of provinces to hand out, but other than that, I don't see a lot of excitement going on in this one. We'll see. So the senatorial decisions. This was a tough one. It was really a reaction against this guy's position at first, which was masterfully handled by the Julian faction. Basically, they said, look, something has to be done. We have to send their people off. They had 15 votes. Julian's had 8. No one else was anywhere near her. It was very clear that the guy who had the control of the Rome Council was not going to give much. Maybe the censor, but doing so puts him up to 20, which puts him in range and makes things risky. Yeah, he's weak. He probably couldn't do it. So what happens? They look around at everyone, and the only military commanders of any worth were in the hands of the 2 factions that were powerful. And one of them couldn't have been. It was Quinticus. So then the Julians managed to convince everyone to give them both consuls. They take both. I mean, this is no great risk to winning the game or anything like that. It's just a power play that's kind of impressive. Then they turned and make Quinticus the censor, which, again, nobody really has any great gripe about, because anyone else, first of all, not many other people could have had it, and those that could, you could have put Cato again. This would have been the only other option that's really reasonable. Others, this would have gone over the 21 already and couldn't happen because it's the Pontifex Maximus. So it really isn't that unreasonable a suggestion, and that's why I say, in a way, it's sort of masterful, because this is the kind of agreement that I tend to get rolling towards me in games sometimes. Just stacking argument on argument. So the wars are going to be prosecuted. Oh, and then the exiles happened. Glauca and Cato, two of the young statesmen who have been very powerful, have been sent off, in terms of their oratory, have been sent off to Sicily and Greece and told, hey, go fix those. Stay out of Rome for a while. That brings things much more into balance. This guy's clearly in the lead in terms of votes, etc. But it's not a dominating lead anymore. The Quinticus faction had a very, very, very frightening lead, with enough votes that they only needed one other player, and not a particularly powerful one, to sway the entire course of the Senate. So we've got Julius attacking the Spaniards, and we built 4 new legions, which brought some additional money over to Scipio. And we've got who else? Furius taking his fury out on the Sicilians. I'm just going to handle those not on camera. I think that wastes a lot of time, and I'll come back at the end of the turn probably. After their successes, Julius and Furius saw, I have all but 2 units of the Roman army under my control, and there are a couple of legions here, and here that are going to defect if I go. A couple of the elite legions. But hey, let me see if I can chance this. So Julius spent $11 on all the legions that he might get and tested them. Furius only spent 1, that's all he had, plus his own loyal legion. And I'm looking at the numbers, and it's just not paying off. 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 legions total. Doesn't strike me as a good chance. Probably someone will be able to defeat them. And quite possibly Rome will have to put someone like Scipio in charge, which will hand the victory to that player. So it seems like too much of a risk, and they're not gonna take it. So they're gonna return their legions back to Rome. But it was definitely a close call, and it's a bit of a wake-up call to the other players. Hey, we're in the middle era now. Legions are more likely to pay allegiance for, retain allegiance to their commander rather than to Rome itself. All right, back to the red cards. Okay, so moving into another Senate phase. We had some interesting occurrences, not terribly much happening during the forum phase. One of the first ones was Third Macedonian War has shown up. And this is actually a revolt because Greece is a province, so it'll have no treasure. And I don't remember what else. I don't think there's much else that happens except it'll attack Greece in this case. Anyway, that's one issue. Another is, after that, a pretender emerges, which means the next time there's an act of war, some random province just goes into revolt. And unless it has an actual legionary garrison in it, it murders whoever is ruling the province, and also ends up turning that province into a war of its own. Now, that means that any provincial governorship at this point could be a death sentence. Granted, there are a lot of provinces, so we don't know which one it's going to be, but that's kind of painful. And we also have this revolt in place, which has to be handled. I don't know how the votes are going to go at all this time because things have shaken up a little bit. We'll see how it turns out. So here in the Senate phase, we had a difficult time. This guy was having trouble getting anyone to agree to work with him. All he wanted was, give me the censor so I don't get prosecuted. Then he tried to get it down to, hey, just agree not to prosecute me. Eventually, he was getting no votes anywhere, and rather than start losing influence, we got an agreement, and Valerius and Fulvius were assigned to the council by the censor. Junius was appointed censor. He immediately instigated a trial for treason against Julius. And Julius made a popular appeal. We had the Gracchus prosecuting him. The popular appeal wasn't successful. He was executed, and Gracchus gets some of his popularity and influence. And thus is the price of angering the senators sometimes. You know, it's weird because in some games, I'm talking real multiplayer games, in some games nobody cares. You know, hey, he went for it. I would too. In others, it's like, wait a minute. No, that's just wrong, man. I like both. I like both attitudes. And it kind of, this one kind of developed into a, wait a minute. What he did was very wrong. So now we have a battle. Fulvius, that mighty military leader of a two, has been sent off to handle the Macedonian War. Well, one other thing. Now we see no one managed to get the concessions dealt out, but they did deal out all the governorships. The deal there, they all went to dying old men. The idea being that nobody would get any additional risk that way. All right. Well, anyway, we have this battle going on. The Senate was unwilling to send too much of its army. So we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 legions. Brings us to 18 versus an 8. It's only a plus 10. It isn't terribly big. Remember, this is just a revolt. It's not going to produce any spoils. And I roll a 12, which is not special. That plus 10 is successful. So he's going to get his bonuses, and the war is going to end.